All right. Welcome, everybody, to the IU Hoops Halftime Report. I am your host, Jared Morris, as your Indiana Hoosiers, currently with a 37-35 lead over the Purdue Boilermakers at halftime in a game that obviously a lot of people expected to be a big challenge for Indiana just to compete and keep it close, and it certainly has been. But through 20 minutes, Indiana has been up to the challenge. And I think you have to say that this is one of the best 20-minute segments, halves of basketball that Indiana has played all year, considering the opponent, considering how many guys are out. No Deron Davis, obviously Colin Hartman, a scratch before the game. And it just feels like Indiana has a really good game plan, and the guys are really executing well. Clearly, Purdue not shooting at their normal rate. The Boilermakers currently 3 of 11 from downtown. They're the best three-point shooting team in the country, so it has helped that they have missed some looks. But give Indiana credit. They also haven't given Purdue a lot of open looks. Obviously that one that Dakota Mathias hit there at the end was really some great execution by Purdue offensively. But Indiana, doing all it can defensively to try and contain this high-octane offense. And for the most part, despite being undersized, they've done it. They've kind of been selective with the double teams of Isaac Haas. They've done it some. They haven't done it others. And it's pretty clear that they are going to concede some good looks for Isaac Haas. And he has converted. He's got 14 points. He's 6 of 9 from downtown. He's also picked up a couple of assists because he's made some terrific passes out of the post. So as good as Indiana is playing defensively, Purdue is still able to get some of the things that they want on offense. They've been able to get some wide open looks down low for guys like Vincent Edwards. But I think the big thing for Indiana, especially, after that early lead the Hoosiers built kind of withered away, is that while Purdue has started to look more comfortable and settled in, Indiana's done the same thing. And I think, frankly, the biggest stretch for Indiana where they struggled was the stretch where Al Durham and Devontae Green were on the court at the same time. And I've got to, as well prepared as I feel like Indiana is, I've got to quibble a little bit with Archie for putting those two guys out there together, considering how well Josh Newkirk and Robert Johnson were playing. I would have liked to see them stagger a little bit. There are some games Josh Newkirk just can't be on the floor, like the Illinois game, but today he's played well. He has 4 points, 4 assists. He has really done a nice job, kind of in what Indiana's doing, where they're kind of playing 5 out, setting some high ball screens, setting some side ball screens, letting the guards penetrate and either take it all the way to the bucket or find cutters. And when Al and Devontae were out there, that's when Indiana turned the ball over more. That's when the offense really stagnated. So I think as you look for what will happen in the second half, I have to think Newkirk and Johnson are going to play as many minutes as possible. And, hats off to Robert Johnson for how many big shots he had to answer big shots by Purdue on the other end. And I think that three-pointer at the end of the first half was huge. Indiana played well enough that they needed to lead this game at halftime. Just because, I think they earned it. And I think psychologically going in at halftime, it was important for Indiana to have that lead. And, Purdue, Haas, takes McSwain to school. That's what, a 7-inch advantage. Haas is going to be able to score on Freddie. He hits that little turnaround jumper. Rojo comes right down and hits that three-pointer. And I'll tell you the other thing that impressed me about Robert is he missed those 2 free throws and really just didn't look confident on them at all. It looked like he was about to get the free throw yips himself. I'm glad he made that last one. But you think back to those 2 free throws he missed. He didn't sulk. He sprinted down on defense and harassed Carson Edwards into that steal that ended up turning into a layup by somebody, by Newkirk, I believe. So really, really impressed with Robert Johnson, the load he's being asked to carry on both ends. He's really responded. He's got 13 points. He's got a couple of assists, only has that 1 turnover on the carry, which is a call that can kind of go either way. But really impressed with what he's done, and clearly impressed with what Juwan Morgan has done. He's got 11 points. And sure enough, while Indiana is struggling to guard Haas on that end, Juwan Morgan is a big matchup problem for them on the offensive end. And so I think what you're seeing right now is, for Indiana, I think a game plan that is maximizing Indiana's strengths, and Indiana's strengths, or at least advantages over Purdue, are quickness. We clearly don't have the size advantage, but we do have the quickness advantage. And I think what we're doing on offense helps us maximize that. And clearly, being able to rebound. What are the rebounding numbers, in fact? it feels like Indiana's doing a nice job. Yeah, Indiana is rebounding 82% of Purdue's misses. So Purdue missing more threes than normal, missing more shots than normal, and Indiana's keeping them off of the offensive glass. Now, Indiana itself is not getting a lot of offensive rebounds, and I thought that was one area Indiana would really need to succeed in to have a chance today, but only a couple of points or only a couple of rebounds. So and six, by the way, 6 rebounds for Justin Smith, which is impressive. But I think Indiana is going to have to get on the offensive glass a little bit more in the second half to get some of those putback points. But, look, a really solid half for the Hoosiers. Now you've put yourself in a position where now you've just got to go out and play 20 minutes. You've kind of shortened the game a little bit. Now you've got to go out and beat Purdue for another 20 minutes. And based on what we saw in the first half, it feels like this is now a game that can kind of go back and forth. What I think you have to watch out for is I think Purdue is going to get hot at some point. They're 3 of 11 from downtown. They're only 15 of 32 shooting. I think they will get hot and score, maybe 3 or 4 buckets in a row, go on a little 7 to 9 point run. How do we respond to that? No, don't get me wrong. Hopefully they don't. And hopefully Indiana's defense is good enough. But an offense this good, at some point they're going to spurt. And how do we respond to that? And I think it'll be really important, just like it was there at the end of the half, for Indiana to settle down, not force threes, but take them when they're available, like Robert did, but also focus on playing through Juwan Morgan. I mean, this is as composed an offensive half as we've seen from Indiana. There aren't many shots where you look at it and say, man, that was a bad shot. Indiana has taken good shots. They haven't turned the ball over. So they've really done a nice job with the opportunities that they've had. And they're going to have to do more of that in the second half. And I think you're going to have some more surprising contributions. Freddie McSwain, you don't expect him to score buckets on 2 straight possessions and then go up and knock down his free throw, but he's got 5 points. You don't necessarily expect Zach McRoberts to hit a little jump shot off the dribble, but he made that. So there's going to have to be some of those things. And by the way, hat tip to Zach McRoberts for that one play where he just completely dove and sold out and tapped the ball to save a possession. Unfortunately, it got turned over right after that by Devontae Green, but it was great hustle. And Zach is really doing a nice job defensively on Dakota Mathias, who is scoring really well this year. He only has that 1 bucket, and it's a 3-pointer. Now, he does have 5 assists because Mathias is just a really good player, and you're not going to totally shut him out. But frankly, I'd rather him be getting assists, and a lot of those be assists on 2-point buckets than going nuts from deep. So kudos to Zach McRoberts for a really solid half of basketball. I mean, I think the keys to the second half are similar to what propelled Indiana in the first half. Continue to use the quickness to your advantage, continue to rebound, and make sure that Purdue doesn't get any easy putbacks. And then I think the other thing to look for is I think Indiana's going to have to force more turnovers. You saw Archie Miller get ticked off at Devontae Green when Devontae Green first got in there because he wasn't putting enough pressure on the ball for what Archie wanted. And Purdue's only turned it over a couple of times. In their losses earlier this year, they turned it over 20+% of the time. Now, they're better than they were then, and they've been doing a better job of taking care of the ball, but it's been a big strength for Indiana forcing turnovers. And I think they're going to have to get up, get in passing lanes, harass dribblers, and get some turnovers that then lead to buckets going the other way. I don't think if Purdue only turns it over twice in the second half that Indiana's going to win this game, because I don't think Purdue will shoot as poorly as they did in the first half. So Indiana's going to have to get some points back, get some possessions back some other way. And I think forcing turnovers through sheer effort and will and just smartness and anticipation is going to be really important for the Hoosiers. And then on Indiana's side, on the offensive end, try to find a way to get a few more easy buckets off of offensive rebounds. And if Indiana can do that, I think now you close the gap a little bit, in terms of everything Purdue brings into this game from an experience, from a chemistry, just from a skill standpoint with their shooting. And that's what you have to do, and find a way over these last 20 minutes to scratch and claw and grind out as many possessions as you can. And hopefully you come down to the last 4 minutes, you've got a chance to win. And I think we'll all take that, because that's where the Assembly Hall magic a lot of times can really kick in. So really fun first half of basketball. Hats off to Indiana for playing a terrific half. Hopefully they can come out, do it again in the second half, but you can't be anything but encouraged with what you saw there in the first half. And now the first few minutes of the second half are going to be important. Indiana came out against Illinois, played terrible at the start of the second half, gave up the momentum, never got it back. It's really important to come out, play with the same composure, the same confidence level, keep the crowd in the game, and remind Purdue this isn't just going to be some walk in the park here in the second half. We're here to play for 40 minutes. May the best team win, and hopefully in the second half that proves to be Indiana. All right, thank you all very much for joining me on this edition of the Halftime Report. Andy, Ryan, and I will be here on the post-game show to break down everything for you. Hopefully it's a victorious post-game show. So join us at assemblycall.com or right here on our YouTube channel, and we will talk to you then. Go Hoosiers.